Welcome, everyone, to Preseason, the first event of ARL Season 3 and Tier 3. I was originally supposed to be joined by John, but I'm PMB05, and I'm joined by F1X Driver X2018. How are you doing, F1 Driver?
Alright.
Make sure it is good.
Obviously. Doing alright today. And you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy to get the season started. This has been a long break. We've not had ARL since July 4th weekend, which is crazy to think of, that it's been that long.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, glad to be back.
First event of this season to kick everything off, hopefully. I know it's pre-season, but it's probably going to be the most viewed thing for a damn while.
Yeah, that's true. And I was also going to put out there that we have no reserves racing in Tier 3 today for this preseason. It's a 45-minute practice session. Drivers get to kind of have a feel for the race car, kind of have a feel for this game, and get to know what the other driver's pace is like this week before heading into the first round next week in Bahrain. Now, we'll mention the Bahrain drama later from Tier 3 last season and other tiers, but to start off in the first place, Tier 3, last season's champion Davis, you'd say dominated the championship. I think that'd be right to say, but he only won about 4 races of the 13, which was the second most amount out of the championship winners. Boca winning the most, 6 in that season, Kagoda winning 3. So Davis's season wasn't necessarily dominated compared in the races, but it was dominated in the championship. Tier 3, this is a show of who the actual full-time drivers will be showing every race and stuff. Thing is, I will be reading people's messages from Discord DMs that I told people to DM me about in a minute, but this is a real testament, F1 driver, of who's going to show up during the season and who's willing to be active during the season. Who's going to be probably the active drivers out of the full-time drivers. Who should we keep? Who should we not? This kind of shows who really has the pace and who really doesn't, because last season in Tier 3, we saw a total of 7-ish different winners, I want to say. And with Tier 3 last season, the opening season, there was many chaotic races we saw. Italy Tier 3, you saw as well, I'd say USA with the rain race, Hungary with the rain to dry race. We saw many races that were chaotic in Tier 3. How do you look at it necessarily, F1 driver, with this Tier 3 season?
Overall, the fact we got 17 out of the 20 drivers in a pre-season event is pretty astonishing. I've seen quite a few leagues where people in the pre-season event just didn't turn up. To have 17 drivers is pretty impressive. And then the thing is, they've got a lot of pressure on them because there's so many Tier 3 reserves we've got at the moment that you're under so much pressure to perform and to make sure you turn up to every race. Otherwise, you may lose your seats, obviously. It should be quite a competitive season as well, because everyone's sorted by time trials now, which, in my opinion, should have been the way to go anyway. But
Bill flag that is there. That is
a
Renault. That's Raptor around at the exit of the front corner. Yeah,
he spun around.
He may have spun it getting back on the throttle. I'm assuming.
Thing is, that's a flat-out corner, so I'm confused how you've managed to spin. Bit close. He's probably going to get disqualified at this point if he doesn't get moved on. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, as he's gone in the pits, which is probably the preferred thing to do after you're spun like that. But no, this looks interesting. We have some drivers from Tier 2 last season. We have some new drivers. New drivers and new teams. There's the yellow flag.
Carter's spun around.
Right in front of Hissy.
Gee.
No, we have new drivers in new teams, and that's what the good part is. Thrasher goes to Haas after being in Toro Rosso last season. Raptor stays in Renault. Riskiest Robin, a new driver to this league, new driver to this game. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Black Raw and that AlphaTauri, new driver. M&K Boy, new driver, and that Red Bull going a bit wide there. Crucial Oyster, new driver. He's in the Mercedes. Dominant Square, returning to Renault, returning as team leader, and returning to Tier 3. We saw the amazing race he had in USA last season with that 7th place finish. Can he repeat that this season? We'll have to find out. Communist, a new driver. He's in McLaren. Pluto's got a good lineup in McLaren, so we should see what he's able to do with it. ARL returns to Alfa Romeo, which is your team. I think he's blocking the racing point there. Is that CJ Pants? That might have been.
Not really the best place to be on the racetrack there. It's really tight there. And to be blocking someone, yes, it's pre-season, but if you do that in a proper qualifying event, that will be quite a severe penalty. So,
yeah.
As we see Thrasher letting someone by as he's gone off. So I think a Renault has spun again. I think that's Dominant Square spun at the banking.
That's up to banking. That's a very dangerous place to be spun. And you have to get your car around, like spun back around the right way when you're spun right up there, because you could easily cause yourself to go. You have Fire King and the Haas. He was at Toro Rosso last season, which is, of course, changed to AlphaTauri. Hissy and Ferrari, that's John John's team. He's in the same team as John John last season, but this time John John's the team leader. Florian Foley, still staying in the same team, but that team with Milo made a switch from Racing Point to Williams. Axis team did, and he's got there Tommy Karate, the teammate from last season, in that ride at the end of the season. In Williams, which is the same ride basically. CJ Pants and Racing Point, JB88 and a McLaren,
Ooh,
Hellcat and a Ferrari, Hellcat from Tier 2. Cart and a Mercedes, and he's going wide and actually close to the barrier, trying to let another driver go. That's the Alfa Romeo behind. That's Aaron Ocon. He's just kind of impeded him right there.
Yeah, I think
Ocon was on a lap.
A bit of karma there, to be honest. Whoa, that was a bit wide. Whoa, someone's gone off. Yeah, Thrasher's trying to get out of the way. There's nothing wrong with that. As we know, this track is really tight, which I think was the main reason why this didn't get put on the calendar, because we fear that it may be a bit boring to race at because there will be no chances to overtake. But yeah, we can clearly see here it's causing so many issues for people on laps, people not on laps, people trying to get out of the way. So yeah.
Regardless, the qualifying laps I look at, as you see, Cart is about to start one. The qualifying laps and just the laps in practice for people, I find very interesting because it's so easy to get in someone's way. There's no really runoff area unless you're gonna have to go on the grass. Really, that's the only runoff area you kind of have. It's kind of like a non-street circuit version of Monaco, to be honest. That's why it's preseason. So yeah. Reduce damage for preseason, so of course drivers can't necessarily crash out intentionally. And there goes Cart first spin. That's out of turn 4.
There's so many difficult tractions, as we've seen. Square spun near the banking, Cart spun here. There's every time whenever it's near these boys, causes issues.
Not even that. So he's kind of going backwards here.
That's going to end up being disqualified. Yep.
Yep, he did.
As I said.
Yep.
That's disappointing.
Shh. I know resetting the track is not necessarily a thing you want to be doing in races, but in that point, you should have just got to reset the track and just been fine with that, because that would have not caused an issue, and he's been disqualified.
Yeah, he's done what I did at Brazil in season 1. Like, you don't want to be going backwards on a track. The best thing you can do is try and spin. Yeah, obviously.
And the best thing you try to do is reset to track safely if you're stuck and you can't get spun back around. If you can't get spun back around like that at a track like this, especially practice session, the best thing to do is resetting a track. And that's probably the safest thing to do. In fact, that's not just saying that because
thing is, technically, you could say he's stuck there.
Yeah, you
because
could say that.
There's no other
and
way
that's in the rules.
than disqualifying yourself.
Yeah. That's in the rules. If you're stuck at a place, at a certain location, and you have to try to get out of there, you can reset the track at that point, as Black Raw just kind of invalidated his lap time right there. That doesn't work out for him too well because he was on a flying lap, I think, or actually going into the pits, one of the two. But yeah, Raptor coming to the line. He's on a timed lap, a second up in his Renault machine. Where does he go? Coming to the line now. We saw him get a podium to 12th. Yeah, so we had said Tier 3 was such an unknown at the beginning of the time trials, or at the end of time trials, and at the beginning of the rides being a set up with teams. The thing I find interesting, 3rd through 12th is all within a complete second of one another, and yeah, you see hard for him to get out of the way of CJ Pants. Yeah, you see how hard it is to get out of the way of another driver
MK
here.
Boy. MK Boy. Spun around. Reset the track. Yeah, it's not restricted. Even if you are not stuck, you can do it in this practice session.
Yeah, practice or qualifying, yeah.
During the race, obviously, if there's clearly a way to get back on track, it gains you so much time.
Ooh, he said the Ramco barrier, or the Ramco sign.
Where energy provides opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, he had a lot of energy going into that corner with the missing front wing, I can tell you that. But Tommy Karate sitting up in 4th right now. A career best finish for him, an ARL, with a 2nd place finish last season at USA. That was his only race, and that was his only podium. 20 or so, well, almost 20 different drivers took a podium in Tier 3 last season. If you exclude Chevy Giant from the whole season, you might have a little bit more because of the whole smurfing situation. But in Tier 3 is Tommy Karate about to start a lap. In Tier 3, F1 driver, with how this field is sitting right now, do you think we could see a tighter field? Well, closer field than last season, because last season you could definitely say the races were close, and the race margin gap was pretty close, except for maybe 1 or 2. You could say those were close victory gaps. Would you say then that this season could be closer in the championship and could provide closer race victories, and not like the extended gaps where it's just let's just say it's what you call it? Like a 10-second difference at the end of the race.
Yeah, at the moment, I know preseason means nothing, but the gap between the majority of the drivers is so close. CJ Pants goes to the top. The gap is so close between the majority of the drivers. I think there's going to be a very tight battle. Because we've had issues in previous. Tommy Karate got in front of ARL. Fortunately, he was on an out lap. Yeah, so what was I talking about? It should be a hell of a lot closer because the time gap, which I feel like was an issue in Season 2 because we carried on from what we stuck with in Season 1, we've basically stuck with Season 2. But with the new system of getting people in the tiers through time trials, I feel like qualifying wise it's going to be a lot closer, and race pace wise it should be a lot closer.
I saw the Tier 3 as Florian fully did go up to 3rd. I saw the time trials, and I said to myself, Aaron Ocon sitting up at the top in time trials, it might not say Aaron Ocon's actually had a spin or some sort of happen on his lap, but no, I said Aaron Ocon, his 1 lap pace is pretty good, and he's your driver, F1 driver, so yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's your driver, F1 driver, yeah. But no, Aaron Ocon's 1 lap pace though has proven to be very good. As we saw last season, he qualified up in the 3rd position in the Italian Grand Prix. Got demoted down to 8th from a grid penalty because of his brother. So with Aaron, he's shown his 1 lap pace is good before, but he can't put together a full race or consistency completely, and I think that's a big problem for him. As we see JB88 go back to the top of the field.
Yeah, I know Aaron last season, it was more of the opposite. His qualifying pace was okay, and then his race pace, it varied race to race. Sometimes he would fall off a cliff, with race pace wise. But then some races like Silverstone, he took real advantage of the situation and the conditions. He just needs to become more consistent in general. I think so. Yeah.
I'm just interested to see in general from Aaron Ocon, what advantage can he take from something? Because there he goes into the barrier.
Oh.
Resets to track, not an issue there. It's only preseason, but no. The only thing I find with him is that's kind of a commentator's curse. The only thing I find with him is oh my god.
America
Oh
for
my
you.
god. Yeah. I was gonna say, with Aaron Ocon, how many times can he take advantages of certain things that go on? Because Tier 3 is 50% now, and Tier 3 was 25% last season. 25%, those are kind of sprint races, if you think about it, and you have to get to the field, or you have to get to the front as fast as you can, and take the opportunities you can, where Aaron Ocon wasn't necessarily in that position to do so last season, only with safety cars that would come out in lap 1, which make a gamble or a strategy call, that'd be different. So now that it's a 50% race, he's got to choose the right strategy, because some of these Tier 3 drivers might choose the wrong strategy at certain races, and it might help him, it might give him an advantage. It might suit him better than others with taking that one-stop strategy. Not COVID. Yeah, not COVID. No, it might help him taking a strategy call if he stays out in a late race safety car. Yep. That is...
Again.
Ooh, wow.
I swear that's the second time he's been into the barrier. Strange.
In that corner, too. The thing is with, whatchamacallit, I can't think of the words now. The thing is with Aaron Ocon is, if there's a late race safety car, and he's, say, running 6th position, is he going to maybe stay out and try to gamble and go to 2nd? Because we've seen people gamble on restarts, with their strategy and go up to a higher position than they were running and finish better. I did it in GSR Britain in Tier 2. I got a better finish because I was sitting 5th the whole race. I got up and got 2nd because I stayed out on a late race safety car. So maybe Aaron Ocon could do that.
Yeah, and if you're in the lead as well, you probably have the most important decision out of the whole grid, because if you pit, the majority of the grid probably won't pit, whilst if you don't pit, the majority of the grid behind will pit. So even if you do get up to like the lead for one race or whatever, it's a really important decision if a safety car comes out, whether you pit or not, because I think that a couple good showcase of what happens if you stay out or go into the pits for fresh tyres. Some tracks like Britain were not great to go into the pits because it's very difficult to overtake, and you've just lost a load of positions. And then some other tracks, I think Italy was a good example in Season 1, that created so much variation in what was going on, like so many people changed positions. So it's more track dependent rather than the grid, what the drivers around. Oh, I think, who is that? Raptors around again.
That's at the end of Sector 1. That's in front of a lot of cars coming. So he raced hits a track. That could have been a lot worse, but luckily, Ghosty being on, that changes a few things there. Fire King on ARL. And speaking of Italy, you just spoke of Italy. Fire King took that win in Italy last season. He moves to the Haas team, and he's running the 69, alright. It'll be interesting to see for him. Can he possibly take advantage of another race like that where it's chaotic and get to the front? Because he was a driver that was probably at the lower part of the points, and because of how chaotic Italy was, and because of the post-race penalties and everything else, he took advantage of everything that happened, and he got himself a win out of it, which I didn't expect to happen, but it happened itself. So, another midfield driver taking advantage of the win. Ollie Mason, your driver, F1 driver, I said it again. He took advantage of strategy call Austria, or not Austria, wow, Australia, and played the strategy game where the strategy, kind of played different where others, he did the opposite of others, and he took advantage of that, and he got a win out of it. So, how many races in Tier 3 do you see guys possibly taking advantage of the strategy and such things like that, and it playing into their hands? Because, not even strategy, these chaotic, how many times will we think we see a chaotic race where someone takes advantage of it, and boom, they get a better finish than what they should have?
Yeah, I think really we love having late racing and why, but it's only in this league for some reason. But yeah, whenever a safety car comes out, it completely throws conventional strategy out of the water. Um, into the water, more like. It completely mixes everything off. I know some people say it does ruin it a bit, which at times it does if it's a one-stop race. But if it is a mixture of two stops and one stops, it can make a huge amount of difference for everyone on the grid. So, yeah.
Sam Steed asked in the chat, got a question for both of you, which is me and you. I know it's early, but before going into preseason, who was your title favorite? If I'm gonna be honest, mine had to probably be, and I'm being completely honest here, JB88 or Hellcat, because JB88, his time trial pace, looked very good, but I know he switched an assist, to make him go faster, and that's clearly helped. Hellcat from Tier 2, he had the 2 finishes last season, from Bahrain and Germany, which were pretty well, and even France, where he finished 6th, 7th, around that area, where Tier 2 was very competitive last season, where he probably should have been finishing around that 9th, 10th area on a more consistent basis, and he was getting surprise finishes such as 6th or 7th, whenever others had problems, and he didn't have problems, and he took advantage of that. So, I see Hellcat and JB88, and I was going to say Squid Jr. as well, from Tier 2 last season. I was going to say him because those two, if there's anyone I'd say will create a big 3 type of scenario, JB88 and Hellcat are the 2 people that do it, I feel like. Those two are the 2, well, JC Hellcat, JB88, and, oh, there's Fire King! Boom! Into the barrier! That's at the exit of that's at the entry of, the banking part.
Yeah,
so...
it's claimed quite a few cars now.
No, JB88, Hellcat, and, Squid Jr. it was for me. I don't know how comes the line doesn't improve.
There's so many good drivers on this grid now. Yeah, I bet you someone's probably going to say Donut Square for the memes. Yeah, I think there's, looking at right now, I know preseason means, as I said earlier, but
people could sandbag, I mean, you never know, which we are allowed to sandbag in, so.
You've got Crucial Oyster at the top at the minute. If he's used fuel modes and whatever, I don't know. But he's up there at the minute. So yeah, and there's a couple of people from Tier 2, as you said, Tier 2 down to Tier 3 this season. There's a couple of drivers from Tier 1 who've moved down to Tier 2. But I feel like those people have been moved down, have been given another bit of confidence because they know that, yes, they weren't that great in the tier last season, but now they've been put with people who are very similar pace and they can get their confidence back and maybe even contend for podiums and wins again.
Not even that, we saw so many races last season that were just surprise races for people on the podium. Britain, we saw CJ Pants get his first podium. We didn't expect that. Italy was just a crazy podium overall. Australia as well. There were races where I look at that had crazy podiums that I just think, in my own opinion, even if it weren't for the craziness that went on. And chaos provides that, and that's what all went on. So that's just part of it. That's just part of the game, chaos. Riskiest Robin did actually improve his time just a bit, a second up on his time. I'm actually wanting to go watch Crucial Oyster on a lap here. As we head into turn 1, DRS enabled into 8th gear. You see braking for turn 1 goes down to 3rd gear. Almost second, you're almost I'm almost on second there. Now you have to turn 2. To turn 3 here, it's going to be to the banking part. You want to kind of take a weird kind of entry to get the best exit. Not always that bottom part. You want to try to get the best acceleration off. Now in the exit of sector, and the end of sector 1, these parts you have to master. If you hit the corner, hit the apex wrong, you could lose about a few good hundreds. And same right there. You could easily lose a 10 through there as we end sector 1. He's like 5 tenths down on the medium tires. And into the 2 right-handers here. Clip that curb just a little bit. You'll get better, I guess, traction off the corner. Now into this left-hander. At the end of sector 2, this will be soon. Gotta get the traction off here. DRS enabled. Got 50% ERS left. Crucial Racer does. Up to 7th gear. Might get up to 8th gear if it's enough. Probably not. Into the chicane. Have to clip that curb just a little bit more, but don't clip it too much because you can maybe go flying over that curb. And got to get a good exit for here. And now you got to come this time to the banking part and to the final part of the lap, which you gotta get perfect here. You can't just run right up against the wall or miss part of the corner, or else you'll ruin it. And you see he's coming in.
Yeah, I would like to bring up the point of wet weather. Because last season, it definitely threw a spanner in the works for most the drivers. Like, obviously, we had the issue last season where Tier 2 and 3 were getting way more wet races than Tier 1. Let's change the system up. That system is still in place for this season. And I feel like that definitely helped out a lot, because even though people think, oh, it just means that the drivers will always pick a dry race, not always, because there isn't always that option, because whenever real life is wet, dynamics a very high chance it'll be wet. And then if you pick scripted and there's been too many dry races in a row, the owners of the lobby will probably decide to pick for a wet race. So a wet race will happen. It's just unpredictable when it will. Obviously, if everyone picks wet weather, fair enough. But yeah, it definitely does spice races up, because it changes the whole grid up, I think. Some people are definitely a lot better in the dry than they are the wet, and vice versa. So,
You say we get an interview with Hissy? You think that's good? Because I think we should get an interview throughout this, at least once throughout this session.
yeah, alright.
Say we get Hissy? Alright, yeah. Oldest driver entering the grid here in Season 3, in Tier 3. So, Hissy actually took a few podiums last season. And, that was France, Hungary, and I want to say that was it, but I feel like there was something else. It was going to be Germany, but the last lap or two, kind of caused a little incident with him and Davis. And, if you think about it, out of the guys who gone up to Tier 2, Hissy would have won that race. Hissy, glad to have you join us for, booth, I guess you could say. Make sure your audio is included. Make sure you include it. Yeah. Heading into this season, what are your expectations for the Tier 3 season? You come into the season as the oldest driver in the grid for Tier 3, and you come into the season being the highest guy in the points who returns to Tier 3. What do you expect into the season?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of expecting to be, well, maybe somewhere near the top, but I suppose, well, I suppose everyone wants to win, obviously, but so I'm kind of aiming to win, but I think it's a big ask, but I don't know, I just have to wait and see how it goes. But I think, again, like I said in the last season, I'm just going to try and be consistent, and I definitely feel better in this game, and I'm a bit more consistent with my laps, so yeah, so just kind of, yeah, to see where it goes, but just try to be consistent, I think, throughout the season.
Hellcat goes to the top, but yeah, that's your teammate, Hellcat is.
Yeah.
John picked you and Hellcat to drive for Ferrari. You had a bit of experience with John last season in practice sessions a lot at Red Bull. John goes to Ferrari, and you kind of go over there with him. How much has John kind of played a help into helping you do good in these races? Could say Germany kind of helped you do good. You would have maybe done good at USA, or maybe you had a chance at the podium if you didn't spin out on lap 1 because you were up there and you're good in the wet weather, which we've seen already. What do you kind of expect to have with John? You kind of expect to have that more experience with him now that you may do better? Because how much has he been helping you?
Yeah, John's really, I mean, he's been really good. I mean, I think obviously during our practice sessions, I think just following a faster driver helps you. like helps with your pace. You maybe see what lines they're taking. I sometimes actually use the setups as well. And like the time trial, but it's definitely good. To kind of practice with John. Johnny can can definitely help you. And, just tries to kind of help you improve your race pace and stuff, and even just like kind of racing online logs, it's really good. I can kind of just like again just follow and see what lines he takes, and definitely good to have John as a team leader and help me improve my race pace.
So, last season you finished third in the standings, tying with Dada Lucas, who moved up to Tier 2. Well, we can call him Rapper Lucas now. I think we're free to call him that. But you also got Davis, who won the championship. You contended with Davis for the race victory at Hungary. You were in a chance to win in France and also Germany, which you took podiums in, except for Germany. Expectations this season with that? More podiums, more wins, or a first win? What do you see out of the season?
I'd obviously like our first win. That'd be great, obviously. I think I'll be aiming, for a win. There's some tracks where I'm quite, I feel I'm quite strong at. Like I said, Britain, I'm quite strong there, so maybe hoping for at least a podium there, I think. But so I'd hope that I'd be in, contention for my first win. But but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I don't know yet, obviously. I don't know what some of the newer drivers are like. Some of the drivers that have come down from Tier 2. I don't know what their race pace is like and stuff. So just have to wait and see who I'm actually racing against first, and then see if I'm able to, be in contention for podiums and possibly win. So just gonna, but hopefully I'll be able to get my first win. That'd be good. I'd like that.
Yeah, seventh so far in the session for you. F1X driver, do you have any questions for Hissy, or just anything you'd like to ask or comment on about last season, or just something he wants to improve in this season?
In general, do you think, coming into this season, do you think, what are your targets for this season? Do you expect, like, top 10 finish in the championship? Where would you put yourself?
I'd like to think I'd I'd be in the top 10, but I'm really aiming to be in maybe top 3. But again, I don't know what the other guys are like, some of the newer guys, so as I'm saying, I have to wait and see how it goes with them. But but I'm really hoping for, if not, to get, in the top 3 to at least win it. But maybe I'm setting maybe I'm setting myself a bit high here, but but that's more or less what I'm kind of expecting. At least some podiums, hopefully a first win, and just try and aim for that. And that's pretty much it.
Should be interesting this season. We'll have to find out what goes on. Well, third in the championship last season for you. Is there anything you kind of find yourself taking advantage of? Chaotic races, strategy, just being there at one of your better tracks? What out of those 3 things that I just named do you find you see you're taking your opportunity at most for some maybe race victories or podiums or good finishes that you want?
I think I'm definitely good. I think if I'm because I think we all know that a qualifying pace is not, and it wasn't great in the last game anyway. It was terrible. I think I managed to capitalise on getting through the field a bit quicker. Like as you say, like taking advantage of maybe someone spinning or like a safety car. I think I'm quite good at making my way through the field. If I start near the back, I tend to kind of bottle it. I'm at the front of me. But I think what I need to improve on is maybe like strategy. I've not made the best strategy calls. Like to Britain last year when it went from was it from dry to wet or from wet to dry? I can't remember. I basically made the wrong call, and it just cost me so much time. And going to tyres that weren't the right, they weren't the right ones for the current conditions. So I think if I can make better strategy calls, and then I might be, maybe in contention for more podiums. But I definitely made a few bad calls last season. So I'll try to work on them and see how it got on.
Yeah. Now, I will say good luck this season for sure. We'll have to see what
Yeah.
goes on in Bahrain next week.
Yeah.
I'll let you get out there for the final 10 minutes, though. I'll
Yeah.
let you get back
Cool.
on track. Glad to have you talk to us.
Okay, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, so, Hissy, took the 2 podiums last season that he did. Hungary, which he had the opportunity to win, he was leading most of the time in the wet. Hissy's probably one of the more better wet drivers we've seen in this league. Well, better in the rain conditions. I should say. So F1 driver. That brings me to this question.
Viking, he's around.
If there's,
Jeez.
yeah, I think that's not the first time. That was he was near square earlier and spun round.
He hit the back of Riskiest Robin. I was watching on board.
Oh,
He went quite
I know
slow.
those two are usually in parties, so yeah.
He went quite slow out of the bank onto the banking, and then hit the back of him and spun. So, yeah. Whoa! Someone's crashed at the banking again.
Dominant Square is actually out of the session. JSC Hellcat's out of the session. CJ Pants is out of the session. JB88 did go back to the top, but there is.
We can definitely see how people are now putting fastest laps now. People pushing the limits of the car.
Now Hissy though, can he maybe take advantage of a wet race, possibly F1 driver, and take advantage and possibly win a race? Because we know how good last season he was in the wet weather, especially from Hungary.
Yeah. Anyone can take advantage of wet weather, and I think he's probably the best to do that. Among a couple others on the grid. So he's definitely got the pace compared to some of these guys in the wet, and he can take advantage and possibly get a podium or even a win out of it. So yeah.
Yeah, there's another driver I look at in the wet, Dominant Square. It rained in Hungary in GSR. He came home to a 7th place finish after it ended in dry conditions. So you just don't know what could go on. Crucial Oyster did improve his position up to 2nd. Communist on a lap as well. Yeah, Tier 3, we saw many races last season that the races were close. The fight for the podium, there's always a fight for the podium, I would say, in my opinion. So there was always a fight. There was always something going on. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't just like it was a dull race, so nothing went on, this and that. So I believe Risky Strobin was just blocking Thrasher
Crucial
there on a lap. And yeah, Crucial's behind there as well. So yeah, I don't know if Risky Strobin was on a lap, but he was kind of blocking those guys. So yeah.
Yeah. Although it's not, as we said earlier, although it's not going to get a penalty, it is really annoying for some drivers who are on their fast laps. So yeah, overall, I think pre-season is definitely a good chance to see how
What these drivers are like.
what people are like, what their behaviour is on track, what their pace is. It can identify so many things, and yet be so ambiguous at the same time, because these times won't really matter by the time we get to Bahrain for race 1.
They won't matter, but we're definitely getting a show right now of who will be at the front, who will at least be contending where they are right now. So like guys like JB88, Crucial Oyster, Hellcat, CJ, MK Boy, and I'll actually add to that list Florian Foley, because he was up there. We could say those guys will be up front, but we don't know who will be winning the race. We don't know who will be like 2nd, 3rd, 4th on back. We don't know who will be there, but we know who will be in position to do so based off this practice right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall it gives you a rough estimate, because these times won't really matter, but you can definitely see where certain people will be, like who will be near the front, who's going to be midfield, near the back. So, obviously some people have crashed out, so they're not going to be able to improve. Obviously Kyle was disqualified for going backwards. So yeah, it should... Overall, we should be seeing quite a tight competitive grid, and hopefully we can definitely see that in race 1 at Bahrain.
I mean, it also kind of gives me kind of a sign of what this tier will be like, because if you remember last season, this tier was pretty bad with the driving when it came to starting. We had about 10 clips. It was for different things most of the time. It was about 10 clips for certain different things every time. ARL kind of getting out of the way of Thrasher. Those two have history. No, but the thing is, this tier 3, was pretty bad when it came to incidents last season. They'd have probably the stupidest incidents. Lap 1 would be pretty bad for them. Sorting would always have to have issues because of them. You know, things would happen because of the way tier 3 was last season. And the way I look at it with this is that this tier can maybe show that they can improve as Thrasher moves up to 5th. This tier can show that they can improve with the racing. We already saw many drivers spin out, which already shows the consistency with them, because we saw Raptor spin a few times, we saw Fire King spin a few times, we've seen, I want to say, Thrasher into a wall once, or it was like Thrasher square. So this just shows, out of how many times they've spun, this just shows who will be doing, how they'll be doing, but their consistency based off this type of stuff. You know, that's what it pretty much shows, in my own opinion. The consistency, and like I said, which I want you to talk about, this tier was pretty bad with when it came to incidents. This tier was probably the worst tier last season when it came to incidents, and they would always have lap 1 issues. What tier 3 did, and always have problems, and always just have some sort of stupid issue that tier 3 would have. We saw the 17 car pileup in Italy. We saw the 6 car pileup in Mexico off the start. We saw those type of things, so we don't want to see a repeat of that. And a 4 car crash at Britain on the start as well in turn 1. So we don't want to see those things repeat. And Thrasher, kisses the barrier, just barely.
Yeah, I think we did have a few issues in tier 2, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see it a couple of times. We see a few small crashes on the first lap, but not to the extent. Oh, Tony Gray around at the banking, the last corner. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we won't be seeing the same sort of incidents and the same sort of caliper as what we did before, where people were literally crashing before turn 1. Of course, Mexico. Yeah, so I feel like it was the same for every tier. There was always that chance of having a big crash at lap 1, turn 1, whenever. But hopefully it's been sorted out before the season starts. Makes sense.
Now we should be seeing people go for their final runs now on the track. The final time we'll see cars on track before Bahrain for this tier. And we have also tier 2 later on, which is in about an hour time, so make sure you tune in about an hour time to Preseason tier 2, same place Zandvoort, but with different drivers for tier 2. The Rising Stars of Formula 1. I guess I may as well put it that way, but yeah, the Rising Stars of ARL though. So yeah, we should be able to see what people are capable of doing. We have a Renault coming across the line this time. Raptor is starting his lap, has overtake button engaged, so keep in mind that overtake button will play a lot of difference into the season. ERS, yeah, you can't really manage that as much as last game. It's a completely different playing field. I believe that's a Mercedes. Crucial Oyster, he's coming to the line for a new lap time. Communist on an out lap, coming to start one. Behind that, there's a Haas. That is Fire King. Dude, just kissed the wall right there again. Another Haas. Coming to the line. You have Aaron Ocon coming to the line as well. Raptor is off. He is into the barrier.
Yeah, that's his
Behind
session
that,
done. No way you can pass the pits.
Haas. Yeah, no way. No way you can repair that. And Thrasher starts a lap as well. The Red Bull behind that is Risky's Robin trying to improve. He's invalidated his lap time, but overtake button is engaged. A driver who's more new to the game. Can he compete with the likes of Square? Can he compete with the likes of Fire King? Can he compete with the likes of the guys at the back of the field and possibly score some surprise points finishes? You have a Williams coming to the line. That's Tommy Karate. He's going to start a lap this time. There's a McLaren as well. JB88 hot lap for him.
Oh, he's
Yes,
just
I
letting
knew
everyone
we'd see it.
follow.
I knew we'd see a copy and paste in chat of the Rising Star Formula One. One wonders. Should one
One only
um
win one Formula One year. Would one only
would one have
would
won
one
have won
in
that in round
round
one?
one? It's so stupid.
Communist improves to the line. Fire King comes to the line for the final time. He goes up to 12th. Behind that, there's a Red Bull. M&K boy starting a lap. There's the Alfa Romeo of Aaron Ocon. He doesn't improve, but he's actually starting a lap now. There's the Haas. GSR Thrasher. He's up to the 5th position right now. Checkered flag's going to be waving pretty soon. Thrasher comes to the line. He can improve, but he's going to be top 5 in the session. After a really struggle at the end of the Tier 3 season last season. He got second in this second qualifying at USA the one time. Riskiest Robin comes to the line, does not improve. The Ferrari, that is, I believe that's Hissy starting a lap now. Behind that, that's Tommy Karate, I believe, in the Williams. Gonna actually try to improve in this lap. Can it be a top 5 position? It's not any better. There's the McLaren JB88, I believe this is, heading into the banked section in the final sector, the final time. He's leading the session. He's led this session for a while. Can he improve? He does not. 2/10 down. There's a McLaren with a Williams. That's Communist. I think there's been a collision with Florian Foley in him. Communist is out of fuel. Communist has collided with Florian Foley. Crystal Oyster coming to the line this time. Can't improve, but Purple Sector 3. Aaron Ocon also coming to the line. 2/10 up. Can he get top 10? He cannot.
That's
Fire King spun it.
a shock.
Hissy trying to come to the line, but it is JB88 and Crucial Oyster who are the top 2 drivers this session. A decent run from JSE Hellcat, Florian Foley, and Thrasher as well in this session. Hissy farther down than I thought. Same with Tommy Karate. Compared to the last season, you wouldn't expect him to be that far down. But again, just preseason.
It shows that these time trials can be really misleading.
Like you had Aaron Elkin who led them and it was 13th, so...
Yeah. Okay, here we have Fire King doing those. Oh yes.
which for all we know with Aaron Ocon, he could be sandbagging a preseason, which is allowed. But the time trials, which he showed that he had good pace in the time trials, but couldn't put it together here. And Fire King coming to the line, just gonna stop before the line quickly and complete his lap. That is preseason over. Biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, the driver you think, and that's about it.
I'll go with biggest disappointment. I know everyone's going to say I'm biased. It's my team, but Aaron Ocon, he was really strong time trial wise. He was saying, "Oh, I've got quicker and all this," but to come 13th out of 17 drivers, a bit of a shame, personally. But hopefully, it is sandbagging and he can improve. Biggest surprise. It's not really anyone who's jumping out.
For me, Florian Foley.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect him to be that high. He had many midfield runs back in 6th, 7th area, but he never really got any 4th place finishes besides his first race at France that he had in Tier 3 last season. So that's the only thing I see really from that. No, I'm not really going to spectate the 3-lappers, but besides that,
we could see the absolute madness that happens after.
Yeah, we could just for the fun. But I mean, to be honest though, Florian Foley, he had the run he did in France, which was a 4th place finish, but besides that, he really didn't have any top 5 finishes. So him being 4th in the session shows me he might have improved, might have been a favorite for the season, but we just didn't expect him. I was going to say Thrasher as well, a disappointing end to the Tier 3 season. We didn't expect him to possibly be better, but he said for preseason he wanted to kind of sweat and kind of do better, because last night he was 2.3 seconds off Tier 2 driver. Not a good sign, but Hissy, I would say, is my biggest disappointment, if there's any disappointment for me. I would have expected him, after finishing 3rd in the championship, to be a bit higher up, but again, it's only preseason, so you just don't know.
Yeah, we could definitely see from certain drivers from last season, because it's a new game, we saw loads of drivers get demoted when they were really high in the championship, so for anything, It could be anything, to be honest. Different game, people getting faster. I don't know. Red Bull goes off, and it's absolute cluster
Shit.
hell in turn one. The one
Obviously,
thing we
this
were
race don't
discussing
matter,
that
so
wasn't
this part
going
don't
to.
matter.
Um, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's just like a public lobby. This is not gonna lie. Here goes a hat.
Shit.
Uh, I think Raptors out. Yeah, this overall, there hasn't been much movement. There has been a few shocks with tier placement, but overall,
Yeah.
it's stayed quite balanced.
Now, I've got to ask quickly before we end the stream and just an overall recap of the session. Is there any team right now from this session that you look at as a favorite for me? I know McLaren looked like as a favorite for me, from just all tiers. McLaren did, but I don't think they impressed with both drivers. I think with both drivers, Hellcat was like third, Hissy was seventh. So overall, that Ferrari team does look very consistent and does look pretty good. So I do expect the Ferrari team to possibly shine. I wouldn't say they get the most race wins and most podiums, but I expect them to be possibly a favorite for that top three in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think. I feel like McLaren. Yes, they may have the better driver out of possibly the whole grid for all we know. But overall, as a team, I don't feel like they could contest for a constructors championship. Otherwise, I feel like it would be a bit of a carry. But and cart slightly going off. But you've also got Mercedes. No surprise there, is there? Mercedes near the top. Um, yeah, Mercedes. I feel like I've got a strong lineup as well. Both are
I would
quite
agree.
not really familiar in this league. I think they're both recently joined, correct?
Yep. New. Yep.
So not many people know their true pace at the minute. So yeah, they could be contending for a winner. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what could go on, and we'll have to find out what goes on in this season. We'll start tier two in about an hour's time. Tier two will be then. Polo God will actually be joining me for that one. Return to tier two for Polo. So Polo back to tier two commentary. So that's good for him. We should see what goes on in tier two in a little while, about an hour's time. So glad to have you join me, F1 driver. For tier two, we'll catch you then. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you for tier two.